All right, you're very welcome along this Friday evening. It's Ger Gilroy here with you all the way through until 10. We also have Ronan, Mullen and Michael McCarthy with us. Gents, good evening.
How's it going?
Hello.
Well, we are here, yes. Hello, good evening.
Here. We have a pulse and we are
do.
alive. We're ready to go for Friday night.
Well, it's very hot outside and that's slowing everybody down. The brain power is a bit diminished by the hot weather, I find. Okay, 53106.
You were saying something there?
There you go.
Look, we have a crappy quiz tonight, Ger. It's making its long awaited return to the PM show. It's been done already, and I think people will see by my performance. Not that I didn't win or anything, no spoilers, but just my first question alone will expose the state of my brain today.
Okay, on that note. Michael, you have become somewhat of a celebrity around certain parts of Birmingham because of your rant this week, your surgical dismantling of how Aston Villa performed on the opening day of the season. You were one of the 5 people in the world who watched the game in its entirety, and so therefore we're in a position of rare power. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
And that seems to be the way, yeah. Look, I mean, ultimately was saying something that wasn't being said elsewhere, I think, maybe, but, you know, I don't know. Look, I mean, it is a bit weird that people seem to pick up on it a little bit. I don't know. You say rant is necessarily a negative thing. No. I would say. Like, was it a rant or was it just an cold, hard analysis?
Impassioned monologue, I would call it. Soliloquy.
Ronan, I don't know, who is your football team?
Ger, I'm a lover of the game.
Right. So after Dundalk, that's it.
It has to be, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I do. We had a full conversation with this on the show during the week about possibly the need for impartiality and the fact that need is no longer to the forefront, and fans want their media people to be banging the drum, as Mick did, I suppose.
I guess where I was going with this is you should be somewhat of an honest broker here, because we are both Aston Villa fans.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
So, what do you think of Steven Gerrard?
See, from the outside looking in, I thought he was doing a damn good job, and it's only when Mick almost opened my eyes to this, and then the further I explore, I see there's a lot of unhappiness, and it stands to reason when you stack it up, given the funds that have been at his disposal and the quality of player in that team, that their finishing position last year was quite underwhelming. And it's an interesting parallel with Lampard, whose resources are comparatively diminished. He's just losing his best player month on month, it seems like. So that they're both meeting at this juncture, and it's the almost ageless kinship those two have and will forever be compared. Have they ever met before as managers?
No.
This is the first time, so could be the last time, the way things are going.
Who do you think the best manager is, Lampard or Gerrard? And is the answer Paul Scholes at Oldham?
I mean, I don't know. I think that it's terrible the way that we've kind of come to think of Lampard and Gerrard locked forever together in some kind of mediocrity because they failed as teammates for England, when they both had unbelievable individual playing careers. Like they both had... Oh,
yeah. Two of the best ever,
Lampard's career is, I think, objectively better because he won everything Gerrard won, but also won leagues, right? And I don't know. Either way, right? In terms of, I'm not saying he's a better player. He has more medals. That's, you know.
Yeah, with better teams. I would argue that Lampard's role was the same as Gerrard's in some ways, but Gerrard never saw himself in that role. So Lampard was happy enough to be the guy,
or smart enough,
he's smart enough, whatever it was, to come in at the end to score the goals, to be attacking midfielder. Gerrard wanted to run the game, but was actually never that player. He was a moments player.
Yeah,
you know.
But I think what's happening here is that they're falling victim of their own egos to the point where they still want to be centre stage. They're in that cycle where Roy Keane wanted to be a manager of their lives, when actually they don't need to. They've done everything in football that they're going to do that's going to give them joy. What they're doing now is chasing the dragon, and that does not lead to somewhere good.
I can't imagine there's much satisfaction in being a manager. Maybe the moment after a win. But it seems like they're going to have to work harder than they've ever had to work before.
Yeah.
For less money than they've been getting for the last 15 years or close. I'd say certainly now, not more.
I'd say Stevie G is probably getting as much now as he was for most of the time.
You think he's on the kind of 50 grand a week level?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think managers got paid that much.
Maybe think Steven Gerrard could be on 6 million.
Okay.
I don't know actually.
But even so, I mean, they've made their money.
40 grand a
especially
week
these
is 2 million.
top level guys.
Like they're both made men to a certain degree, and have been their whole careers, in the sense that Steven Gerrard was the next big thing for as long as Liverpool fans can remember. Like, made good on that promise, became an icon at the club. Frank Lampard, fast-tracked, rightly or wrongly, by his family heritage. His dad was a known player at West Ham, we can be generous in saying. And then his uncle's obviously Harry Redknapp, that famous clip of him banging the drum, "You're way better than Scotty Canham, you're way better than Matt Holland," etc. This guy's going right to the very top.
He was right.
Yeah, I know. He gets slagged for that. It was the most astute Harry Redknapp ever was.
Lampard...
He fast-tracked, deservedly so, but go on, yeah.
No, but like Lampard, to his credit, had to work a bit harder. He wasn't the athletic specimen that Steven Gerrard was, and had to use the sprinting spikes and all that went with that very famously. Isn't afraid to tell people about how hard he worked. But for the first times in their careers, they've reached a point where criticism is coming, and they've evidenced that their skin is not thick enough to take that critique, because any chance they get, they turn it on the players. Most recently, the Mings-Gerrard thing, which rightly or wrongly, or whether it's his intention or not, has become a flashpoint and the main topic of discussion around the football club at the moment.
Yeah.
And then every week Lampard's criticising his players for pre-season results or anything else.
It's an amazing similarity between the two of them and their personalities. Like, Gerrard, to be honest, I think Gerrard has been warned off it, or has learned. Maybe, to give him credit, he's learned.
He was far worse at Rangers.
At Rangers, he was a disgrace. Everything was the player's fault all the time. He was like, well, I coached him what to do. And Lampard still does that. Lampard still, well, that wasn't the plan going out there today. The players have to look themselves in the mirror. Gerrard does it way less, but it still sneaks in every now and then, where he'll say the line that he's scripted in his head, where that's on me. He says that an awful lot. That's on me. But then the rest of his answer doesn't suggest it's on him at all.
That's on me. That's on me for picking these awful players who can't follow a plan. What was I thinking, trusting these morons?
So actually, our view as Villa fans, you kind of shared that he's a little bit out of his depth, and this is not going to end well.
I don't know if he's out of his depth. I would say the current Aston Villa squad is underachieving, and he should possibly be given time to arrest that. But what is enough time in modern football? Like, he hasn't even been there a year yet.
I think that's fair. I do think you have to see some progress before maybe the 12 months in November. If Villa are floundering in the relegation zone, he's going to go. If they're maintaining the status quo and, you know, it's not good enough come the end of the season, but I wouldn't be getting rid of him. Like, I wouldn't be...
Well, is it not just another wasted couple of years? That's the problem. It's
if
like,
they've made the wrong decision, cut now.
There's a certain point in your life where you're like... The days are diminishing. The number of days in your life are actually diminishing, because it's not. That's not how it works.
No,
you're on a countdown. Every day of your life is actually on a countdown.
Yeah.
The clock has started, and like, you're going to waste another 2 years at Villa.
You're depressing me on a Friday night.
This is the glorious sunshine outside is having it. We're impervious to it here.
What is achievable for Aston Villa realistically, though?
That's the question. Joe was asking that. Dan Bardell. That was the delusions of grandeur.
Spurs, like, you know,
the Leicester thing was a mad amalgam of circumstances.
But Leicester, West Ham, Leicester and West Ham over the last number of seasons. Leicester won a league. Leicester won an FA Cup.
Yeah,
and nearly finished fourth in that same season.
That's true.
That wasn't.
And Aston Villa have a much better squad than West Ham.
Yeah, and now Leicester.
Maybe
not. They don't have a Declan Rice, you know.
I think the squad is vastly overrated. I think Luca Dean is picking up 162 grand a week. Like, that is the chronic mismanagement of a squad. That's in 3 years' time, when Villa are back in the Championship, everyone will go, they let Luca Dean earn 162 grand, and as Karni Chukwuemeka picks up the European Footballer of the Year award at the age of 23, they wouldn't give him 50 grand a week.
I think that wasn't money.
But then West Ham
It might have been. Money would have solved it 18 months ago.
Yeah, possible. All the conversation was that was agent going to a big club for first team football that he's not going to get at Chelsea. He played 18 times last season, and he wasn't good. I don't know. He wasn't good enough to play 18 times as an 18-year-old in the Premier League. They did everything they can to keep him. Those things happen.
I don't know. I think that.
But Villa are like ostensibly a bigger club than Leicester. I think as of 10 years ago, I would have said they're on a par with Tottenham. Like, I mean, I know you've got the London thing, but like, Birmingham's a pretty big city.
It's massive.
And there's a lot of clubs in London. Tottenham you have to be honest and say, we have a tendency to live in the past now. Tottenham are now a very big club, and that's fair. But there's no reason why clubs like Villa, with really exceptionally rich owners, I think they might be the fourth richest in the Premier League, aren't able to turn themselves into that. But it's like as if it's just so many false starts. There's a culture of disappointment and nothingness that is very hard to get rid of a club, even if it's not personnel related.
It's stitched into the DNA.
It feels like so,
yeah. And so that's my point about the manager. It's like they wasted time with the O'Leary era was, like, I would say, really bad for Villa, and the second time Graham Taylor came back wasn't great, and they just wasted all those times. Like, I mean, basically since John Gregory's been gone.
John Gregory. No, Martin O'Neill got Martin O'Neill nearly made the breakthrough. A few three six places in a row.
I forgot about O'Neill. Yeah. It has all glooped into one. The big game this weekend is obviously Spurs against Chelsea. Like, this could be very interesting. I think both these two teams could challenge. Maybe not this season. I think Chelsea could challenge this season. We're kind of giving them a free pass for how bad they were in the league last year. But Antonio Conte, he's the man.
For sure. And like what Chelsea are trying to achieve in the transfer market, I'm not sure. Basically, it's like swooping in on transfer deals that were done and paying way over the odds, like the Cucurella deal, which was he was all but done to Man City. They paid at least 15-20% over the odds for him. Same with Fofana at Leicester, where we're willing to pay 70 million. We're actually willing to pay more. So Leicester probably thinking, well, we're not going to take 70 million. And then Frankie de Jong in a midfield, throwing apples into an orchard of an already stacked midfield there with the likes of Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante, and now they want de Jong as well. So
that's a good team.
Oh, for sure. But then when you see what Spurs are doing, and they're addressing areas of need and strengthening areas of strength, like the Richarlison addition to an already stacked front line, like much was made of their... Was it 7 signings now in the summer? None of them started it last weekend. He's as if to say, you're going to have to work damn hard to get in this team.
The majority of them all over 6 foot.
Yeah, and Kulusevski's like my favourite player in the league.
Yeah.
He's just a joy to watch. So a lovely blend of athleticism, which is Antonio Conte's want, but just hugely supreme technical skill in that team as well.
Their January signings were amazing. And the reason the new signings aren't getting into the team is because suddenly Ryan Sessegnon, who we've all known since he was 16, is starting and one of the best players in the team. Out of nowhere, or maybe he came in a little bit towards the end of the season. Like Matt Doherty went from, I know he's back out of it now after his injury, but went from like the worst signing in Spurs history, a bit of a joke on Twitter, to having this brilliant end of the season before he got injured. So it's obviously like Conte is an incredible coach, and I don't know, it's the first time. Now this is the overreaction. I stand by the Villa not being an overreaction because it's actually based in something that goes beyond last week. But the overreaction from week 1 is that I wouldn't be surprised to see Spurs challenge for the title.
I think there's a very good
Everyone
chance.
stays fit.
There's a very good chance they finish second. Yeah, okay, with the usual caveats that if Harry Kane goes out for 4 months or 5 months, then they're really going to suffer.
Steps Richarlison.
Well, at least there is some strength and depth there. I made the point too in conversation with Martin Lipton recently, he wasn't buying it at the time, that I think there's a good chance Antonio Conte stays here. If you look back at where Antonio Conte has been, everybody says, oh, he's a short-term manager, but actually, like, he left all the jobs for different reasons. Italy were in a jock, he took them over, turned them around, and used that as an opportunity to get back into Serie A. Did very well under constrained financial circumstances with Juventus. An opportunity to get a different job came along. That was under Abramovich. That was never going to be long term. Then he wins the league with Inter, like in a league where they're not supposed to be able to do that. And then they sell all his best players. He's like, screw you, I'm out of here. Like, this time, they have the stadium, the debt is manageable. He's got one of the best players in the world up front and a selection of players. He's getting paid massive amounts of money. I think there's a chance he's there for 3 or 4 years if they have the run that we think they're going to have this season.
He's just not a bluffer, though. If he says, I'm walking unless you do this, he will actually do it.
Yeah,
and
but
Levy didn't chance it. In January, he was like, right, we will actually back you. We weren't planning on spending this money, and all that money has been spent well. So
it seems to be.
Yeah, but again, he's going to fall out with Daniel Levy at some stage, and the issue is Conte will actually go when that happens.
Maybe Daniel Levy looks at this and goes, okay, I've screwed this up every single time until this point. Maybe I'm not going to screw it up this time. One last point, Todd Bowley is the football equivalent of Jerry Jones, who is the kid in the sweet shop. So you've heard about this dinner he hosted? He had a dinner for all of the other chairmen and chief executives. Apparently that's where he signed Carney Chukwuemeka, and that's where he signed Cucurella, like at the dinner. It's literally the most expensive dinner in history. It's already cost him 80 million. and who knows how much more it's going to cost. But I'm enjoying his interventionist ownership of this football club. Like,
it's like,
should we sign Ronaldo? Let's get Ronaldo. And Tuchel's like, no. But at least he listened to him.
Yeah.
Now they want Aubameyang, and Bowley's going back. Are you sure you don't want Ronaldo? You want Aubameyang instead? Not sure about that one.
About the Aubameyang one?
It's going to make Chelsea fun, though, isn't it? Like, as in to be reading about, at least, if not necessarily to watch.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so that's the weekend's football. We'll talk more about this with David Connolly a little bit later on the football kickoff with Sky. We've got Michael Verney a little bit later on to talk about the hurling situation. I haven't talked to you, Mick, about the return of Davy Fitz to Waterford.
Yeah, I'm very, very surprised. Ronan was talking last night saying, like, you know, that all the madness of Davy Fitz, sometimes we can underrate his achievements as a manager. I tend to agree with that. I'm just not necessarily sure if this is the right move. I'll be interested in listening to Michael later on to see what he thinks, but I suppose I don't really have a strong opinion on it. I'm a little bit surprised. I can see the benefit of it. I can see that the madness of Waterford and their up and down, you know, tendencies are exactly the same as David Fitzgerald. Up and down tendencies, good years, bad years. If they strike together with all the talent in that squad. But I was saying last night, Ger, like, 2017 they got to an All-Ireland final. 2018 and 2019 were both disasters. I think they got 1 point, 1 draw out of the 2 round robins in Munster in 2 years. Then 2020, great year. Munster lose only to an unbeatable Limerick team in COVID. 2021, okay. 2022, disaster. You know, what is it? Why do they keep slipping off the radar completely for the group of talent they have? So, like, in some ways I've come around to, like, Davy might be the man to get the good year out of them, and that good year might be enough one time.
And he's an immediate impact kind of manager.
Yeah.
So if that kicks in, that's going to be all good. All right. Okay. So that is the crack at that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We'll bring you some rugby. The Springboks have named a different team to play the All Blacks this week. Are they rope-a-doping everybody and they're going to let the All Blacks have a morale-boosting win to keep Ian Foster in the job? Is Razzie playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers?
I know Matt Williams was making a similar point ahead of the third test of Ireland-New Zealand, notionally, that we should just throw this game. We've already proven we can beat them. Let's wait and beat them when it matters, quote-unquote. I don't think,
or beat them with the kids and completely crush them. It's one or the other, yeah.
I think South Africa, looking at the win-loss ratio over the last century or so, are probably thinking, let's just chalk another one on the board here. Let's not let them off too lately. I think they're going out to win regardless of the 15.
But without taking their eye off the ball, in that their squad growing.
Yeah.
For, you know,
they're in a very, very, very
months.
good situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're as big as 5-1 to win the World Cup. I think that's the outstanding.
Tough route.
Yeah.
Go through Ireland.
At the same time.
Possibly France.
I mean, they can do that. They can do that. 53106, the text number here this evening, if you want to get in touch. We're going to take a quick break. We're back with the much heralded, nobody asked for, Friday night radio return of the Crappy Quiz.